Hi, I'm Gretchen Lyda, the arts and culture columnist here at Horse Network. Today, I'm super excited about the guest that we have for this month. She's an author, she's a diversity advocate. She has a podcast called the Black Equestrians Podcast. Her name is Abriana Johnson. She's the diversity advocate and, again, the co-founder of Young Black Equestrians, the podcast. She is a master in health sciences from the University of Florida, and she lives in Raleigh, North Carolina. She also has a Tennessee walking horse named Maestro and a miniature horse named Encore. And I'm so excited to introduce Abriana Johnson. Welcome.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. I hope you are.
I am. I'm so excited to talk about your children's books today. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yes. So I authored and illustrated a children's book series. There's only 2 out right now, but it's Cowgirl Camryn. So the first one is Cowgirl Cameron and the Crazy Hair Day. And the second one is Cowgirl Cameron and the Great Escape.
And tell us about your main character a little bit.
So Cowgirl Cameron, a lot of people ask if she's me, and I'm like, she's more like my child. She is a representation of some of the experiences that I've had, but also experiences that I kind of wish I had as a kid, being able to have animals outside and just, do all of the horse girl things. So in the very first book, Cowgirl Cameron, she wakes up with crazy hair and she's like, oh my gosh, I got to go feed the horses. What am I going to do with my hair? And, as a little Black girl, hair is very important. It's always been very important growing up. So she's like trying to find different hats and settles on a cowgirl hat. So that's the first one. And then the second one, the first one starts out, she's going to feed the herd. Second one, she's headed out to feed the herd. And she finds someone missing, and it's the little Minnie right there. And that is Encore, who is a real live little Minnie. And he has escaped the fence. And so her and the rest of her herd, Lola, the miniature donkey, and Alpy, the alpaca, go searching for Encore, the miniature horse, and find him on the other side of the fence. And then they have to work together to put the fence back. And then they can go eat. So every horse person knows of that experience. Like, the horse is out. Where did he get out at? Okay, let's go find him. Okay, now let's fix the fence. Like, that's textbook horse person experiences. So in these books, I want to provide children with these experiences and just showing them, putting emphasis on teamwork, putting emphasis on, no bullying. Those are books in the future, but and just kind of teaching a lesson as well as creating that experience in their imagination.
Fantastic. Well, in a little bit, we're going to talk a little bit more about Encore because I have some questions about him. But first, normally right now, we would have the author read from her books. However, we have a very special reading today. Olympian BZ Madden actually read one of Abriana's books, the first one in the series, and we are going to show it to you now.
Cowgirl Cameron and the Crazy Hair Day by Abriana Johnson and her Cowgirl Cameron series. Good morning, my friend, says Cowgirl Cameron. Oh, my hair is wild. What am I gonna do? I have to feed the horses. Wait, I have an idea. I'll wear a hat. Cameron tried on a baseball cap. Said Cameron. Too big. Cameron tried on a green beret. Said Cameron. Too small. What will I try on next? Wait a second. Cameron remembered something. I can wear a cowboy hat. Cameron reached way up high to get her cowboy hat. Hey, this is just right. Now I can go feed the horses. Cowgirl Cameron is all set and ready to feed the herd. And that's all. Now, just like Cameron, I can feed Grunt.
I love that video because the horse is like right there next to her, and the book is so cute. Now, you have a good story about that video. Would you mind telling it to us?
Yes. So I woke up one morning. I don't even remember what morning this is, but I knew that there had been some people reading children's books in support of Saddle Up and Read, which we'll talk about in a second. And so I woke up and, checked my notifications, and they were like, there was like 50 of them. And I'm like, okay, what happened overnight? Let me check. And I saw, Beezy Madden reads Cowgirl Cameron. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. Oh my God, somebody read my book. And so I went to her page and I was like, oh, thank you so much for reading this and supporting Saddle and Read. Really appreciate it. And then throughout the day, people were texting me like, girl, it's Beezy effing Madden. And I was like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I thanked her already. Thank you, but I thanked her already. Yeah, that's cool. And then there was maybe 12 people that I hadn't talked to since college. People that, we're friends, but I don't talk to on the regular. They're like, girl, it's Beezy Madden. It's Beezy Madden. Did you know Beezy Madden? Oh my God, Beezy Madden. And I was like, okay, guys, let me look up who Beezy Madden is, because I don't know. I really don't. And I looked her up and I was like, oh, Beezy effing Madden. Clearly. Yeah, she's amazing. And I had no idea. And
right?
This is so much more of an honor because I'm literally in my bed, what is wrong with y'all? I read it. Yes, Beezy Madden. I'm like, I don't even know what the Beezy that just threw me for a loop. So I'm just like, okay, yeah. And
right. I also think it's what you're describing is so much of what the horse industry is like too. There's so many facets of it that you might know everybody in one facet and not the most famous person in another. And that's totally a thing that happens all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of a big deal. She definitely read Cowgirl Cameron, and I'm thankful. I really am, but I really didn't know. Everybody was like, why aren't you excited? And I was like, well, you're the fifth person that said something. What do you mean? I said thank you. Dang.
Now you have a degree in animal science, right?
I do. Mm-hmm.
And was it some of your animal science friends that were saying stuff like this?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're like, yeah, I had a poster of her on my wall. And that was the comment that made me actually look. I was like, you had a poster? What do you mean you had a poster? What does she do? I didn't know.
Right.
Obviously with us growing up, so she's been around for a long time, because hopefully us, 30-year-olds, 25-year-olds are not having posters on their wall of people. But if you do, that's okay.
Right.
But I'm just saying, I was like, that comment kind of made me go, poster? Okay, let me look her up, because she got posters apparently.
Right. Well, it sounds like you handled it super, super well though. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about Saddle Up and Read? It sounds amazing.
Yeah, so it's kind of one of the inspirations for for these books anyway. Saddle Up and Read is a nonprofit literacy program founded by one of my best friends, Caitlin Gooch. And we would go around and read books about Black cowboys and cowgirls to little kids, and we'd dress up in our cowboy boots and our jeans and stuff and our hats and just go around and read to kids and do activities, things like that. And so obviously we're not reading to like kids that can read on their own, you know, so we are reading to lower grades, kind of like K through 3, pre-K levels. And so one of the things about, you know, writing books with Black characters, especially that have some kind of historical significance, they want to get the story out there because no one else is telling it. So the book is very detailed. It has a lot of words, and it's over the reading level of a lot of these kids we were being asked to read to. So not to say that it's not important, but we're sitting here like with books, paraphrasing, like, he rode on a horse, flip the page. He fell off, flip the page, you know, and just completely making up our own stories. And I'm like, if we can do that, I can make up my own story for these kids so they can understand. I want it to be bright. I want it to be colorful. I want it to be simple. One of the things, like, I used to tutor kids growing up, and one thing that used to irritate me is like, I'm trying to show them something on the page and they're like, "Ooh, squirrel. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, ooh." And I'm like, focus over here. Focus. So I didn't want these books to have like, you know, super intricate, you know, illustrations and things like that. I just wanted it to be simple, be bright, be catchy, and then be at a reading level that they can understand and then read themselves. So that's what birthed Cowgirl Camryn, the first 2 books. And I've just been so slammed that I have not gotten the 3rd one out, but am working on it. Almost done. I think we may have a couple pages from it that we could share. So it's going to be an alphabet book. It's called Just Another Day on the Farm, a Cowgirl Camryn alphabet book. So that's A, it's for alpaca, and that's Alpy the alpaca. And then we have J for jumper, and that's Cowgirl Cameron jumping. And that is illustration.
She looks older now. She a little older now.
I mean, you know what? That's just what she's gonna look like. She's just got to be a little bit bigger, okay? To make
it's a little easier to 2-point when your legs are longer.
Right. And so that horse is like my horse that I have, Maestro, outside, my walking horse. So if you've never seen a walking horse jump, turn to page J, and you can see it jump.
And Maestro is going to show you that Tennessee walking horses can do anything.
Well, yeah. And in real life, he will jump over lots of things.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It's not like I ask. So we don't talk about it very much. But when we go trail riding, he's definitely like, okay, we're going over this log. Yep. You know, he's completely comfortable with doing stuff like that. So.
And you've had him since he was little, yeah?
Yeah, I got him from North Carolina State University's College of Veterinary Medicine at 6 months old as a sophomore in college. I don't recommend getting weanlings as a sophomore in college, but I did it anyway. And so he's 8 now. So I've had him the whole time. I trained him. We used to show in hand when I couldn't ride him because he was too young. And then he kind of had his walking horse debut at the state fair as a 2-year-old. And we've been doing like trail obstacles and showmanship. And I let the 4-H kids show him last year. Like, he's just kind of an all-around guy.
Wow, it sounds like he can do everything.
He can do lots of things. Yes. Everything. No. Like cows. Cows, he don't do.
Oh no.
No, he don't do cows. We learned this the hard way.
Oh yeah, tell me more.
Well, we were coming through. I live in Zebulon, North Carolina now, and we were trail riding with a friend, and we're coming through his property because he lives here, and he has a cow in there with his horses, and the cow was still, and my horse was like, "Oh, look at that! What's that thing?" And then the cow lifted his head, And I kid you not, I have never gotten him to side pass ever in his life, but he side passed like a mofo yesterday or during that time. I was like, I'm just lucky that I was in a Western saddle and not my endurance saddle, because I probably would have come off. Like, that was one of the few times I was like death grip on the horn, because we going sideways quickly.
That deep seat came in handy.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, no cows. Got it.
So along with Maestro, you also have your mini, and the mini does stuff with Saddle Up and Read, right?
Yes. So Encore. So let me tell you the story about Encore. I thought it would be funny, just to have a little version of my big horse, just because I like doing things random. I don't know. And so I was on Craigslist one day just perusing, and of course I came across a mini that looked just like my horse. He's got socks on the front, stockings on the back, white and black mane, white and black tail, and is a dark bay.
And he's on the cover of your second book, right? Let's look at the second book.
Yes. He's on the cover of the second book, and then the second book is dedicated to him because that's his book. So that is him.
Oh man. He looks like a heartbreaker.
He is. He's a rotten little boy. And he's got a fat belly. That I squeeze. But yeah, so I got him, and I kind of, just working with him, desensitizing, ground manners, all that, he doesn't do anything else. And I kind of like just discovered like his temperament is really, really good. So I say, let me see if we could kind of step into the therapy realm, and see what we could do, see how he likes it, see, how that goes. And so I worked with him, desensitizing, things like that. I used to put him in the back of my Jeep. Me and my friends, it's Caitlin, the founder of Saddle Up and Read. We used to pick him up and just put him in the back of my Jeep Cherokee. And then I was like, I had to take him somewhere, and I borrowed my dad's truck, and I borrowed a horse trailer. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I got a whole truck and horse trailer, but it's little mini to hop out. Just take him on a reading visit. Like, this is too much for me. So I leveled up, and I bought him his own car. It's called the Mini Mobile. And it's a minivan that I tricked out and put stalls in the back, so he could ride in the back of the minivan, and he just hops right in there, and then he turns around and hops out when we get to our destination. And we take him to schools and to different community events. We even take him downtown, the city or the town next door, and we just sit in front of the ice cream shop, and I'll just put on Facebook like, hey, Encore is at the ice cream shop. Y'all want to come meet him? And then people will be like, skirt in the parking lot, trying to come just say hey to the mini that's, standing downtown. So he is exceeded my expectations 100%. He is good with the kids. He engages with them. He sniffs their stuff, sniffs their pockets, and they're just like screaming. And he's good. I mean, he's good. We go to active senior centers as well. I've taken him like to go visit my grandma, and we did Christmas up there and stuff like that. So he's just, now we got the mini mobile. We can go anywhere.
Has he had a whole lot of work since the pandemic started?
No, we have not been going anywhere. I did have some nursing homes booked, but obviously they were a hot spot or a vulnerable population. So we did not go there. And then just this past weekend, we had a visit in a neighborhood, and they were doing this super cool, like week-long event around inclusion and anti-racism and diversity. And that day they did a reading, and then they colored some like anti-racist like coloring pages. And then we brought Encore out, and we talked about Saddle Up and Read, and we had the kids interact with him, and just like there's literally a pony in their backyard.
Wow, what a celebrity. I think you also did a fantastic job segmenting me to, or like segueing me into the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which is I wanted you to talk a little bit about your podcast, Young Black Equestrians.
Yeah. So Caitlin and I started Young Black Equestrians, the podcast, in February of 2019. We dropped it on the last day of February, and that's Black History Month, if for those who didn't know. But we wanted to bring to light some of the frustrations that we had with the horse industry and being Black in the horse industry. So that's kind of how it started off. But then we were like, oh, if we feel this way, let's see how other people feel. And when we started talking to other people, it was like captivating, like just hearing other people's experiences, because they're not like ours. Caitlin and I grew up on the trail ride scene in North Carolina. Like, we grew up going to the middle of the woods with hundreds of Black horsemen and horsewomen and riding in the woods for hours at a time, and fellowshipping and eating and, interacting with these people. Whereas we still have Black equestrians that haven't even seen another Black person on a horse in real life. So our experiences, although we are considered the same demographic, were completely different. So we wanted to kind of talk to everyone and say, hey, although we, identify as, similar people, our experiences are completely different. So that's what we've been doing since then. Talking to different people, bringing to light their initiatives, their stories, their professions. Like, also to say, like, Black people are not just good at talking about diversity. Some people don't feel comfortable talking about diversity.
Oh, yeah.
But if you say, this Black woman is a equine dentist, let's talk to her about her expertise in dentistry. That's, you give people the opportunity to shine, and we are all about giving people their flowers while they're here instead of when they're gone. So we just want to, between all of the initiatives that we are doing, we just want it to be the people we wish we had growing up. And the podcast has definitely allowed us to reach different crevices of the horse industry and reach these people to show them, like, you are not alone. Although you may look around and see no one like you, tune into this podcast. We have over 50 episodes. Not all of them are with a guest, but that's 50 conversations that you can relate to, that you may not have been able to without it. So that's pretty much what that's about. And I'm like all in, like, YBE, that's kind of the short version, has completely changed our lives. And we are just so thankful for the community that we've built around that.
I think it's super great too, because, the Black community in the United States has had such an important impact on the horse community, and we don't talk about it enough. And so it's super fantastic. What is the best thing that's come out of the podcast so far?
I think the best thing, and they can clap and pat themselves on the back in their respective homes, because I know they're watching. I think the best thing that has come out of this podcast is a sisterhood that we've developed with several of the people that we've interviewed. We, in March, did like a Black Cowgirl Don't Rush challenge. And it's because we knew them from interviewing them. Yeah. And so we were just, we produced the challenge, or produced the video, put it out. And so we're kind of like talking back and forth for days after, like, oh my gosh, look who shared this. Look at, oh my gosh, we got this many views, yada, yada, yada. But we have literally talked to them every single day since then. Like, it's uncanny how much we talk. And so shout out to those girls. They knew who they are. Oh, let me shout them out, because why not? Caitlin, obviously, she's my better half. Chanel Rhodes of Main Tresses. There she go, right there. She has her own main hairpiece accessory line coming out. So maintresses.com. Brittany Chambers of CBC she's got so many businesses. Hold on. CBC Therapeutic Horseback Riding Academy and Brittany Chambers Horsemanship. She's a trainer. And then Erin Brown she is the Concrete Cowgirl. She's Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy Executive Director. And then Brianna Brookins, she is an amateur rider, just got her first horse, and she's the youngest one of all of us, and it's just a light everywhere. So, and she just started a lesson program at a summer camp. Yeah, so we're all horsewomen. We all do completely different things, but we all support each other when we have issues pertaining to business, pertaining to relationships, pertaining to nonprofits, pertaining to our horses. I mean, we can always bounce ideas off of each other and support each other when, we need someone who has similar experiences to help. So I think that's one of the best things that's come out of the podcast, outside of just being able to connect with the community that we would not have known without it.
That's fantastic. I know that in May, when with the death of George Floyd and the rise of Black Lives Matter, or I guess the resurgence of Black Lives Matter, there was a really big push on social media for a lot of equestrians to follow equestrians of color. Did Young Black Equestrians get a lot of that? Did your own Instagram get a lot of that? What was that like?
Yes, Young Black Equestrians did get a lot of that. But I think because Caitlin and I are very kind of grounded in reality, we know the difference between I'm going to follow you on Instagram and I am going to actively do my part in making sure that people feel included and feel comfortable in my space, in my barn, around me, at my show. Like, we know the difference. So Young Black Equestrians did get a lot of follows. I think I got some. I'm sure between the two of us, we got a lot. But, because we've worked so hard in this space, just to make people feel like they're not alone, we're not falling for the superficial. Social media is fantastic, but it is surface level. So, if you're gonna follow and engage with us, we just want to know, okay, what are you doing next? What are you doing in your community? We have that expectation, and we have to hold each other accountable and say, hey, what are you actually doing? Not what are you talking about doing? Because talking is nice, but it does not get things done. So that's kind of, it was nice, you seeing everybody post their black square, post the two riders doing high five, the black rider and the white rider doing a high five. But, what are you doing to actually make that a reality around you? And so there were so many groups and so many alliances and initiatives and programs created. And Caitlin and I just always wanted to reiterate and say, hey, there's programs out here that already exist. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We don't need to create a space where, all of a sudden you're going into the communities of color, hey, come to my barn right now. It's no, that's not what we're asking for. We're asking for you to support these horse people that are already doing that, support the people that are comfortable in these communities, that these communities are comfortable with, and support those initiatives and help them get more resources and things like that, not asking for anything to be handed out or, reinvented, but we're just support the people that are already there, because they've already started making an impact and all they need is resources and support. So we've kind of had that message from the beginning, once we realized, you know, that this level of tokenism was starting to play.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just like, no, hold on a second. Let's make sure that we're actually doing the work instead of just talking about it, because Caitlin and I are very quick to do a lot of things and not tell anybody, you know. So we try to put the focus on, thanks, you said a lot of great things. So what did you do?
Right.
Okay. You know, like
right.
you gotta
holding people to the fire. That's super important and super hard work.
Yeah. And so, you know, we're out here having these panel discussions and having all of these, you know, just gaslighting, you know, we're doing this just so we can say that we talked about it kind of situations. And I'm like, we had to have a level of we kind of had to, I won't really say protect ourselves, but prioritize our time. Like, are we going to be on a panel talking about whether or not racism exists? Or are we going to be on a panel about what we can do about it? So we had to choose, like, let's talk about action steps instead of, you know, just talking about what happened, what exists. Like, we know what exists, move on.
Right. So you have two fantastic pieces on Horse Network, one of which is actually giving action steps about what people can do. That's absolutely fantastic. So audience, if you have not read it yet, go check out Abriana's pieces. They are fantastic. And so like my question is, you know, what does racial equity look like in the barn? How would you know that it's actually achieved once, like what in like the world as you would want it? What would it look like?
Yeah. I think it is a feeling. You know, I'm not going to be able to walk into a barn and say, you know what, this looks pretty inclusive. You know, there might be people of color there. And you can't just look around and say, yep, there's about 5 of them. That's inclusive. Like, no. If you ask them and say, hey, you know, how you doing? How you feeling? What's going on? How is it here? Do you feel like this is home? And they say, no, I get my bridles taken. I get my brush taken. You know, people leave poop in the wash stall when they know that I'm coming right after them. You know, things like that. You know, it's the little microaggressions that can completely change an experience. So I think racial equity in the horse industry is talking to people about what they're good at, not just the topic of diversity. Highlighting these people, you know, making sure that the images that are used in marketing and catalogs and e-commerce, things like that, show an array of professionals, array of models, array of hands. Like we're not even asking to have like exposés of like, just show me with my horse. Like, no, you have a bridle and you are wanting to show this bridle off, you know, have a black hand holding it. You know, it's these, you know, subconscious things that will help push that message. Like, we see you, we acknowledge you, we know that you are worthy of our attention just for existing, not because you're out here jumping, you know, 3-6 and just being amazing. Like, look at that black girl jump 3-6, but because you're in the barn and you're helping with younger people and you're helping with, you know, you always stay and clean up. Like, you're just an overall good person. People of color are not looking for handouts, you know, they're not looking for scholarships that are awarded to every single person that applies. They're looking for merit. They're looking for, you know, acknowledgement of the hard work that's being done that is purposely ignored in certain spaces. So that's pretty much what racial equity would look like for me, especially as a person that doesn't show. Like, that's another one of the things that I say all the time. You know, there's more people not showing than there are showing. So I would like to see some sort of acknowledgement. Like, we just want people of color to ride, you know, talk to them in the feed store. And that's where the marketing comes in, you know, highlight or make sure the resources are out there to have more Black veterinarians, because a lot of people don't feel comfortable speaking with people there that don't look like them about topics they don't know about, because they feel like they're either being talked down to or things are going over their head. So support these Black veterinarians so that they can support the mission of creating healthy horses or maintaining healthy horses. You know, supporting different industry professionals who are, you know, people of color. That's kind of my view, is from outside of the show ring. So I know a lot of conversations surround the arena. I'm not worried about that. Once you get a lot of people into horses and feeling like they are welcome at these shows, they'll go in the arena. But you got to start with getting them on the horse.
Yeah, that's really a good point of starting to get people on horses. And it's, you know, a big part of the industry. Like, the majority of equestrians don't show. They usually are hobby riders, just like you're talking about. Can you tell us a little bit about what trail riding is like?
Yes. So, trail ride, I'll give you the rundown of the weekend, because it's usually a weekend event. You go down wherever down is, down, out there, up there. You go out to basically the middle of the woods on Friday. Some trail rides are so popular, people start going out there on Wednesday to camp out. Like,
whoa,
it can get that ridiculous. But ideally, you go down Friday, you set up your stuff, you set up your camper or your tent, you get your horses out, set up your pins, your ties, and there's usually like a fish fry or something, some quick dinner. There's a DJ, go dance and hang out with the people that you may not have seen in a while. And then you go to sleep. Saturday morning, get up, get the horses ready, get tacked up, and the ride usually goes out like 10 or 11, depending on like the weather or the time of year. And we ride for like 4 hours, and there's usually a halfway point, and the saddle club that's hosting the event, they'll meet you at the halfway point with snacks and drinks, and like some of the lower budget ones are like chips and nabs. Some of the higher budget ones are like hot dogs and hamburgers, you know? So we get met at the halfway point and then continue on our ride. And then we get back, untack the horses, sleep. I usually sleep. But they'll have like a raffle. People have donated different supplies like muck forks and bags of grain and a bale of hay, you know, just random trinkets, horse things. And you get your raffle tickets and you sit around for the raffle. And then there's a large dinner that the club hosts, and everybody gets their food. And then you have the DJ and you dance and party again. And then on Sunday, many trail rides, you just kind of pack up and go home, or do your breakfast and go home. But sometimes they have cowboy church. So they'll have either a cowboy that happens to be a pastor, or have a pastor come in and just hold a brief sermon, just to kind of get everybody in the right mindset before they go home, before they have to travel. Safe traveling mercies and having a start of a good week, and then everybody leaves.
Wow. How long does it take to recover afterwards? Because that's quite the weekend. Are you ready for work Monday morning?
You know, I usually end up leaving like Saturday, because Sunday, like, I do need all day. I need all day to recover.
Yeah.
But what's funny, we're actually, so Caitlin's dad is part of, or he helped found this kind of trail ride circuit. And so last year he said, hey, you are in charge of OG Fest for 2020. And we're like, okay, cool, fine. Well, then Corona happened, and we were like, oh snap. I'm like, what are we gonna do? Oh, we can't do it. And then we had an idea. we're going to do a virtual trail ride. So it's called OG Festival, and you can follow that page on Facebook. Sorry, I didn't tell anybody about this, but it's a surprise. This is what we're doing. The tickets will go on sale on Friday, and it's going to be a virtual trail ride. It's hosted on the virtual event platform called Hop-In, and you can buy your tickets, and you can hang out and listen to the DJ. We'll have raffles. We'll have prizes. So Friday night, there will be just like a mixer. And then on Saturday, we will encourage people to go riding that morning and send us screenshots of your route. We'll have prizes for like, I don't know, best dressed. That's my favorite one. Mm-hmm. Best dressed. So we're going to, push social media for that. And then we'll have, longest time in the saddle, longest route, things like that. Get prizes for that. And then we're going to have sessions starting at noon. So we're going to have a Zumba session. We're going to have a veterinarian talking about basic horse husbandry and healthcare. We're going to have, hopefully we'll have like an equine dentist talking, and then a couple people talking about homesteading. And I'm going to talk about owning a business, pretty much starting a business in the middle of a global pandemic and what you need to do and how that happens. So super duper excited. And then we're going to have Cowboy Church on Sunday with Pastor Jeff Neal.
Wow, it sounds like a full event.
Yes, it is.
And can you tell me the Facebook page one more time?
Yes, it's called OG Festival.
Fantastic. All right, my last question, and then we'll wrap up. What do you have upcoming, and what are you excited for the next 6 months, next year? You hit mute. Unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now? Mm-hmm. Okay. I am excited for being an entrepreneur and getting into my business. I actually quit my job 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. To pursue my, interest, which, horses were a hobby, but they turned it into a profession, and to just produce the best podcast, the best, the books, everything. I just want to do what I'm passionate about. So that's my what I'm excited about the most.
Well, congratulations. Thank you so much for coming. This will be recorded and will be up a little bit later. And pay attention next month. Horse Network, we will have another author coming to you in September. Thank you so much, Abriana. It was such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me.